Have you ever wondered, no, if you're living a life that isn't your own? You're living according to a script that was imposed on you? It was imposed more, firstly, by the family, the society in which you were born, and religion. And that's why, when each of us is born, we are a blank sheet of paper onto which the script of life that you are supposed to follow begins to be written. From the very moment we're born, we're told at school and at home how we should live, how we should think, what's good and what's bad. And in fact, we don't really have a choice. We don't choose. We simply live a life that isn't our own. In other words, the script that was imposed on us, we believe that's the truth. And so, already in adult life, you wake up in the morning, go to a job you don't like, and think that's just how it's supposed to be. Why? Because everyone lives like that. Everyone lives like that in the society you were born into. So it turns out that we're not living our own lives. We're just copying someone else's life. And most of our decisions are not our own personal opinions, but rather what was imposed on us from early childhood. For example, we were taught what success is, what is right and wrong, what is good and evil. And we never even questioned whether, for instance, these things are actually correct and true, even be it the matter of religion. We don't choose that either. We belong to the religion we were born into. And we don't even ask ourselves whether this is really my life or am I just copying someone else's. For example, we go to school, acquire certain knowledge, then get a job based on that knowledge. And we think that's the right way. But we never stop to wonder if we could have lived differently. Is this really my life? Or do I have a choice? Have you ever thought about such questions? In reality, as we understand, none of us lives our own life. This life is imposed on us by the system. And the most interesting thing is that this system keeps us in a prison. It has a very good guard who keeps us from escaping this prison. And that guard is fear. For example, the fear of being judged. What if I do things differently from others? Will I be judged? Or the fear of failure. If I act differently, things might not work out for me. Because when I was born, I didn't have any options for how I should act, right? Certain patterns were already imposed on me. And the most serious fear of all is the fear of being yourself. Why? Because no one wants to be the odd one out, to be different from others. That's why we try to live like everyone else, not to step outside the boundaries of the system. But let's think about this question. As long as you live by a template, you're actually dead. Why? Because the personality you were born with doesn't exist. It's completely buried under templates. This can happen to anyone. Inside, you hear a quiet voice. Could I have built my life differently? And at that point, regardless of what others might think or how my loved ones, relatives, or friends might react, you don't think about that. You just wonder somewhere deep down, is this really my life? This video doesn't provide answers to all these questions. On the contrary, it only points us in a direction showing that we can think along these lines and come to our own conclusions and decisions. And we need to understand that life is not about blindly following certain rules or instructions, but life is a journey into yourself. And if you feel that it's time to break free from this captivity, to go beyond the boundaries of the system, then subscribe to my channel. Why? Because here we're not afraid to ask questions. And most importantly, we'll be searching for answers together. So if you're not afraid to hear the truth, then subscribe.